This is Mood, Menopause, and Mojo. Two docs, real talk, sparks included, because the rest of your life deserves fireworks too. What do you do when your libido doesn't match your partner's? What do you think, Dr. Z?
Well, I'd say that's pretty common that two libidos don't always match up. We're not always wanting the exact same thing in life at the exact same time, the exact same amount. Now, I think the challenge is when the libidos are varying in huge, it's a huge discrepancy. That's when it's a problem. And that's when people feel a lot of stress. It's more often than not that I hear that the female is saying, I'm not wanting sex as much as my partner. And maybe I feel a lot of stress around that. I feel a lot of pressure around that. I don't feel good enough, whatever it may be that they feel. But it's really common that libidos don't match. And so that's where we have to work on things like negotiation skills and communication skills and be able to talk about these differences because the Beatles aren't the only things that don't match up. Other things don't match up as well in relationships. And we have to find a way to honor each other and each other's experience while also communicating, okay, well, what is it that I'm needing? So, sometimes another way to look at it is that for some women, they say, I might not want sex tonight so much, but you really do. And I love you. And because I love you and I'm wanting to, maybe we make a night about you. Maybe we make it about giving to you. And this is not to convince the woman to do this or that you should do it and feel guilty or feel
Sure.
bad about it, but
Right.
more just like, hey, maybe it's a night for you. And then maybe another night for me when I'm more in the mood. You can do, take care of each other kinds of nights. And then when there are those times when you're both in the mood, then great. But it's really common that the libidos don't absolutely perfectly match up. And I think being able to really be kind and loving around that and not get into guilt trips or you should or I'm supposed to, be
Yeah.
just like my partner, except that we're very different a lot of the times.
So so here we go back to the physiology again. So because of the medications that I prescribe, a lot of times I'm part of the problem. So if I don't
Mhm.
know that this is going on, that's a huge fault on my side because it means I'm not asking. So hopefully your
Yeah.
prescriber is asking about how your libido is doing in the context
Mhm.
of your mental health and your medications that you take
Mhm.
for that. So that's
Mhm.
one area that I focus because that can have a big impact. If your depression isn't under control or your medications are causing sexual side effects, those are two things that I can impact with you making decisions as far as like what can we do to help you feel more sexual and that may help you match your libido more with your partner. But there are other pieces of that as well and the communication is huge. But sometimes there are things that will go on in midlife or later that are changes in your body that might feel uncomfortable or even embarrassing to talk about. But your partner is one person you should be able to talk to about this because it impacts their experience of you in that sexual area. So I have a patient
Mhm.
who she was having a lot of trouble with incontinence and it was very embarrassing for her and she hadn't told her husband. She had only been married a couple years. She hadn't told him about this, but she was soaking through multiple heavy pads every day. She ended up actually seeing a
Mm.
specialist to have a stimulator implanted in her. So
Mhm.
this is a pretty
Mhm.
extreme
Mhm.
treatment. Um, but she had failed all the other treatments. And so she was up to this point and she finally had to tell her partner about what was going on because she needed somebody to pick her up after the surgery and she didn't have
Mm.
somebody else to pick her up. And her partner hadn't known about any of this. She had worked really, really hard to hide all of this
Mhm.
so that he didn't know
Mhm.
about it because she was so embarrassed. But that created a lot of strain in their sexual relationship because he didn't understand that she had this very real situation going on that was impacting her interest in sex that had nothing to do with him at all and that
Mhm.
didn't
Mhm.
bother him either. So it was just a really big disconnect that could have been solved with communication, which is what so much of it comes back to. But I always
Yeah.
share that because I think it's so important, something that we're trying to hide and protect everybody else from. We don't
Mhm.
necessarily have to do that. Talking about it can open up a
Mhm.
lot of doors and make everything feel a lot more comfortable.
Mhm. Well said. Absolutely. Great.
Okay. Thanks for hanging out in the messy middle with us. Wherever you are, we'll meet you there with sparks, stories, and support. Want to meet the docs behind the mojo? Stick around.
I'm Dr. Kristin Zeising, and I'm a clinical psychologist and certified sex therapist. I work with individuals and couples who want to feel more connected, alive, and empowered in their relationships and in their bodies, especially during times of perimenopause and menopause transition.
I'm Dr. B, Jessica Beachkofsky, a psychiatrist specialized in women's mental health. There's no one size fits all when it comes to hormones, mood, or libido. But when we stop pathologizing change and start getting curious about what's really going on biologically and emotionally, that's when healing begins. Your mind, your body, and your relationships all deserve attention, especially now. Thanks for watching. For more on psychiatry, sex therapy, and everything in between, visit us online because every woman deserves fireworks.